For watching Eagle News America, I'm Ace Ramirez coming to you from Washington. It's Wednesday, January 6, 2021. Tonight, we have updates from several of our correspondents across North America and Central America. Eliza Gonzalez Manglikmot in Washington, D.C.
D.C. Mayor orders a 6 p.m. curfew amid the violence at the U.S. Capitol.
Thomas Likeness in Edmonton, Alberta.
Or COVID restrictions in Canada.
Philip Toledo in Atlanta, Georgia.
Georgia projected to give Democrats control of the U.S. Senate.
Randy Bayuga in Parisburg, Ohio.
Governor Mike DeWine says there are not enough COVID-19 vaccines.
Angel Membrere in Sacramento reports about California Governor Gavin Newsom explaining the 5 components of the statewide oxygen strategy. Don Omar Cuevas in Little Rock reports about Arkansas recording a new high in COVID-19 cases. In Panama, May Davila reports about the government releasing a vaccination registration website. Mila Simbulan in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
It's National Radon Action Month, and students are encouraging Pennsylvanians to test their homes for radon.
Plus, for our virtual roundtable, in observance of National Technology Day, we'll talk about what, in our opinion, is the best invention. Our coverage begins now. Supporters of outgoing President Donald Trump stormed the Capitol today in what President-elect Joe Biden calls an insurrection. Police ordered the evacuation of several office buildings for the U.S. Congress Wednesday as Trump supporters broke down security barricades. Capitol Police sent orders for congressional staff to leave the Cannon Building and other large offices after Trump called on his followers to protest the certification of Joe Biden's election victory inside the legislature. The images we are seeing here are those of protesters supportive of outgoing President Donald Trump breaching security cordons outside the Capitol building after clashing with police in Washington, D.C. The U.S. House and Senate were forced into emergency recess following protesters breaking through security. President-elect Joe Biden says it is no protest, but an insurrection. Let's take a look.
To storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection.
Riot police arrive after the security breach of the Capitol by Trump supporters. The nation's lawmakers decried an attempted coup against the U.S. government as supporters of the president smashed the U.S. Congress and shut down legislative sessions. Representative Val Demings in a tweet said, "A mob storming the U.S. Capitol to overturn an election, a coup in progress." Another Congressman, Seth Moulton, said, "This is anarchy. This is an attempted coup, and it's happening in America because of lawless lawmakers." Others also characterizing the assault as a coup attempt blamed Trump for inciting the protesters, who halted the confirmation by Congress of Joe Biden as the winner of the November 3 election. Representative Mark Pocan said the president is inciting domestic terrorism. Meanwhile, the White House and Pentagon said National Guard troops have been mobilized in Washington and neighboring states. White House spokeswoman Kayleigh McEnany said in a tweet that President Trump had directed the call-up of National Guard troops along with other federal protective services to deal with the unrest. She said, "We reiterate President Trump's call against violence and to remain peaceful." Pentagon spokesman Jonathan Hoffman said the entire 1,100-strong Washington, D.C. Guard had been called up to support federal law enforcement, while neighboring Virginia and Maryland announced they were deploying Guard troops and state police. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden denounced this act as an unprecedented assault on U.S. democracy.
At this hour, our democracy is under an unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. An assault on the citadel of liberty, the Capitol itself.
Biden also called for President Donald Trump to go on television and address his supporters to demand an end to the siege.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
Moments after this public call from President-elect Joe Biden that outgoing President Donald Trump demands an end to the siege, Trump tells his supporters via a video posted on Twitter to have peace and go home. In this video, he repeats false claims that the election was stolen from him.
I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Vice President Mike Pence called for the violence at the U.S. Capitol to stop now. Pence had been presiding over a joint session of Congress to certify Democrat Joe Biden's election victory when protesters who had attended a Trump rally nearby swarmed the Capitol. Pence said in a tweet, "The violence and destruction taking place at the U.S. Capitol must stop, and it must stop now. Anyone involved must respect law enforcement officers and immediately leave the building. Peaceful protest is the right of every American, but this attack on our Capitol will not be tolerated, and those involved will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Meanwhile, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser ordered a 6 p.m. curfew in response to the violence that occurred in the nation's capital today. Eliza Gonzalez Manglikmot joins us tonight.
Thank you, Ace. Good evening to you and good morning to our viewers in the Philippines. Ace, what started off as a protest against the certification of election results quickly became what President-elect Joe Biden called an insurrection. The situation at the U.S. Capitol has been feared to escalate in the coming hours, forcing D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to order a citywide curfew for the District of Columbia. The curfew runs from 6 p.m. tonight, January 6, to 6 a.m. tomorrow, January 7. Ace, no person other than those designated by the mayor shall walk, bike, run, loiter, stand, or motor by car or other mode of transport on any street, alley, park, or public place within the district. Although Capitol Police were able to clear the steps of the Capitol building, fear of further unrest remains as night falls. Mayor Bowser said under the curfew, authorities have the power to arrest anyone in violation of the order. Essential workers, however, are exempted, as well as the working media with outlet-issued credentials. Also, those engaged in essential functions, including those traveling to and from essential work, are exempted. In Washington, Eliza Gonzalez Manglikmot, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Eliza, the National Guard troops from D.C., Virginia, and Maryland have been deployed to the district. Some following the events might be of the opinion that the effort of the D.C. government is too little or too late. What can you say about this?
That's true, Ace. It is indeed unfortunate that the situation got out of hand. Many government officials also commented how saddened they were. However, Ace, according to Mayor Bowser's website, the mayor's office had taken steps to prepare for this. Among these preparations are, number one, directing the DC Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency, or the HSEMA, to stand up the district's Emergency Operations Center to coordinate the response for the First Amendment demonstrations permitted by the National Park Service, scheduled for yesterday, and also what happened today. Yesterday, the Metropolitan Police Department, or the MPD, began its full activation with all staff reporting for response on Tuesday and today. The mayor also asked Washingtonians and those who live in the region to stay out of the downtown area yesterday and today, and not to engage with demonstrators who come to the city seeking confrontation. Members of the public and anyone attending the events have been reminded that district law prohibits anyone from carrying a firearm within 1,000 feet of any First Amendment activity. Now, Ace, under federal law, it is illegal to possess firearms on the U.S. Capitol grounds and on National Park Service areas, such as the Freedom Plaza, the Ellipse, and the National Mall. Members of the public have also been reminded that the District of Columbia does not have reciprocity with other states' concealed pistol licenses. Unless a person has been issued a concealed pistol license by the District of Columbia, they cannot conceal carry a firearm in the city. A reminder also that it is illegal to openly carry firearms in the district have been put out. However, despite all these security preparations, Ace, after what transpired today, that included the security breach at the Capitol building and disrespecting observable fact, disrespecting the offices of those representing the institution and of democracy. The question remains, were the preparations enough? Back to you, Ace.
Thank you so much, Eliza Gonzalez Manglikmot from Washington, D.C. I had the same questions when I saw the events unfolding. Was it really enough? Where are the authorities? Where are the law enforcers? But still, that's not an excuse to disrespect the democracy.
That's correct.
Thank you so much, Eliza.
Thank you, Ace.
In a recent development, Twitter locks down the president's account hours after the security breach at the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters. In this image we are flashing now, it shows that Trump's recent tweets, one of which we have shown earlier, have been taken down. The Twitter threatened to permanently ban U.S. President Donald Trump from the platform for flouting its civic integrity rules, ordering him to remove 3 rule-breaking tweets. According to the Twitter safety team, the messaging platform locked Trump for 12 hours and said his account will remain locked if the offending messaging are not taken down. Twitter said in a post, as a result of the unprecedented and ongoing violent situation in Washington, D.C., we have required the removal of 3 @RealDonaldTrump tweets that were posted earlier today for repeated and severe violations of our civic integrity policy. If the tweets are not removed, the account will remain locked. In a tweet, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi says, "Today's shameful assault on our democracy, anointed at the highest level of government, must not deter us from responsibility to the Constitution. Tonight we will move forward with the certification of President-elect Joe Biden's election." Senator Mitch McConnell, in a remark delivered at the Capitol a few moments ago, as they resume President-elect Biden's certification, said, "Congress will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats." He said, "We have never been deterred before and will not be deterred today. They tried to disrupt democracy. They failed." For today's COVID-19 numbers, according to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, January 6th, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 86,900,000. Top 3 on the list of countries with recorded cases: U.S. with more than 21.2 million, India more than 10.3 million, Brazil more than 7.8 million. To date, more than 1,877,000 have succumbed to this virus. The U.S. leads the countries with the most number of COVID-19 related deaths with more than 359,000. Brazil is next with more than 197,000, and India has more than 150,000. When we come back, updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Edmonton, Alberta, and Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas, a one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to Elaine, our health outdoor track.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
News America, I'm Ace Ramirez in Washington. Facing a second wave of coronavirus infections, Canada comes up with more COVID-19 safety protocols. Bureau Chief Thomas Likeness is with us tonight for the details. Tom.
Thank you, Ace. And before I begin, our thoughts from Canada are with you in the United States this evening following the rioting in Washington, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail in the coming days. Now, topping the news in Canada, we're trying to muddle our way through that second wave of the pandemic, case numbers growing exponentially. And what's really troubling is the hospital admissions. Hospitals in some areas pushed to capacity. We're at the point now of using field hospitals in some cities. In Quebec, the premier there has announced a province-wide curfew. That's to go into effect on Saturday. And under that, people will have to be in their homes from 8 o'clock at night till 5 in the morning. And this will remain in effect for 4 weeks until February the 8th. To accommodate people, grocery stores in the province will actually close at 7:30. That'll allow shoppers enough time to get home. Violators face fines of up to $6,000. Other lockdown measures still apply for retailers, although primary schools will reopen next Monday, and a week later, high schools will reopen. Premier François Legault, Quebec's premier, warns that parents are particularly warned about a risky activity, and that's having grandparents babysit the kids. He says that needlessly exposes older people to the virus. It's something they should avoid that altogether. One other restriction, houses of worship in the province will be closed for the next 4 weeks. Quebec has been seeing a growing number of cases, more than 2,600 today. They account for more than a third of the active cases in Canada right now. And since the pandemic began, more than one half of the deaths were in the province of Quebec. Also going into effect today, new rules for air travelers coming to Canada. They must present evidence of a negative COVID test, and that test has to be taken within 72 hours before their flight. When they land, they also must, again, quarantine for 14 days. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Thank you so much, Tom. I know the COVID-19 situation is also important. But may I ask you, Tom, has there been much reaction in Canada to the rioting in Washington?
Well, interestingly enough, most of it was shock. Some people telling me this is something they would expect to see in a third world country. But in a few cities, Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary, small rallies. In Toronto, about a dozen vehicles convoyed past the consulate displaying "Stop the Steal" signs. A similar rally in Vancouver, that one attracted about 24 people who marched on the American consulate. And in Calgary, a number of people rallied outside the City Hall in support of Trump. All these were small, peaceful rallies. You know, Trump has never been highly regarded in Canada, so these events attracted only the fringe. Later this afternoon, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressed his concern. He said his government is following the situation, but he adds he believes American democratic institutions are strong. Hopefully, he says, everything will return to normal. And that's one thing we do hope here too, Ace.
Thank you so much, Thomas Likeness, Edmonton, Alberta. In Georgia, it is projected that the state is to give the Democrats control of the U.S. Senate. Bureau Chief Philip Toledo has the details. Philip.
Thanks, Ace. Now, before today, I would say everyone's eyes were on Georgia, but now looks like our attention is a little bit split. So we hope that everyone in our nation's capital is safe and well. Now, down here in Georgia, we may finally be at the end of a campaign season as the historic twin runoff election for Georgia's 2 Senate seats appears to be over. Earlier today, the Associated Press and other media outlets began projecting that the Democratic challengers have defeated the Republican incumbents, with Jon Ossoff winning over Senator David Perdue and Ralph Warnock over Senator Kelly Loeffler. This means that Democrats and Republicans would each have 50 senators in the chamber, with incoming Vice President Kamala Harris serving as the potential tiebreaker, which, Ace, I just have to assume that would go in the direction of the Democratic agenda. That further means that it's possible that at least for the next 2 years until midterm elections, the Democratic Party will have the power to move legislation from the House, which they control, to the Senate, which they will also presumably control, and then on to the White House for the president's signature. This is also historic because Ralph Warnock is projected to become the first African-American senator to represent the state of Georgia. Let's hear what he had to say.
So I come before you tonight as a man who knows that the improbable journey that led me to this place in this historic moment in America could only happen here. We were told that we couldn't win this election. But tonight, we prove that with hope, hard work, and the people by our side, anything is possible. And so to everyone out there struggling today, whether you voted for me or not, know this: I hear you, I see you, and every day I'm in the United States Senate, I will fight for you. I will fight for your family.
However, Ace, notice I keep saying projected winners and presumable control. Remember back in November when election night was over and the results still weren't finalized? Well, we're all going to have just a little bit of deja vu, as the state results here have also not been certified just yet. Absentee voters have until Friday to fix any issues with their ballots, and overseas and military ballots postmarked by Tuesday have until Friday to arrive and still be counted. Georgia law then allows for the losing candidate to call for a recount if the difference between them is within 0.5%. Now, back in November, the difference with President Trump was within that margin, and he called for a recount against Biden. Now, in these Senate races, Warnock has an approximate lead of 1.6%. So it's not likely that we're going to see a recount request there. But Ossoff, on the other hand, is only ahead by 0.8% of the vote. So if the remaining ballots to be counted tip the percentage towards Purdue, he could request a recount. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. After the events following the presidential election and what's happening in D.C. today, we'll see what kinds of legal challenges might be volleyed at these results. Until then, please, wherever you are, stay safe and well. In Atlanta, Georgia, Philip Toledo, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Philip, that's interesting. We can literally say that it's a projected Democratic voice that's going to be happening soon.
Absolutely.
What are there any reactions in Atlanta to the Senate race drawing to a close?
Absolutely. I've got friends kind of from across the political spectrum, and some obviously, some are very happy, very excited to see, such a change historically. Georgia has been a red state. So to see, not just in the presidential election, but also, in this historic Senate runoff, two, elected representatives are projected to be, blue, so to speak. There's a lot of people that are excited about that. A lot of people are disappointed as well. But as I kind of mentioned jokingly at the beginning, everyone is ready, honestly, for it to be over. I mean, the amount of money that both parties have funneled into the state, whether it be campaign ads, people from all over the country coming in to knock on people's doors, it really was overwhelming, and there's a lot of fatigue. On the other side, though, what is also impressive is, typically for a runoff election, you see a very steep drop from the original election as far as the numbers of people who actually turn out to vote. And this, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it was almost exactly the same as the presidential election. So millions upon millions of people came out to vote. And that in and of itself is really telling to the times that we're in and the importance of making your voice heard. Because for all of these candidates, they were only separated by, a very small, very thin margin of votes. So every vote counts. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple of years. Ace?
Thank you so much, Philip Toledo, Atlanta, Georgia. It gets to a point that it's exhausting. We just want to go back to work and do something for the people. Thanks, Philip.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ace.
Up next, updates from Pearisburg, Ohio, Sacramento, California, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Ciudad de Panama. Eagle News America will return shortly.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Ang ating Q1 champions ay walang iba kundi ang The Sirens! Abot kamay na ng The Sirens ang kampyonato at ang pinaka-aasam na 2 million peso grand prize as they dance their way to victory last Sunday sa ating Q1 semifinals. At ngayon naman ay ipagpapatuloy natin ang ating search para sa susunod na idol sa sayawan as we open yet again our weekly qualifiers.
For watching Eagle News America, I'm Ace Ramirez in Washington. In Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine says there are not enough COVID-19 vaccines for the state. In Pearisburg, Randy Bayuga has the details.
Thank you, Ace. In his press conference yesterday, Governor Mike DeWine states we're just not getting enough vaccines in the state. It's not unique to Ohio. there's just not enough coming out. Currently, Ohio is still in phase 1A. About 175,408 Ohioans have received the first round of the vaccine. About 75 to 80% of the nursing home residents have been vaccinated, and approximately 40% of nursing home staff have refused to receive the vaccine. Phase 1B targets the elderly population. In Ohio, those 65 and above have suffered the most deaths. Hopefully, within the next 2 weeks, as Phase 1A completes, Phase 1B will begin vaccinations of the elderly population in Ohio, along with teachers and other school staffs. Based on the COVID-19 dashboard, Ohio now has a total of 742,817 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and a total of 9,368 deaths, with 40,104 total hospitalizations. And in the last 24 hours, another 454 was added, which is above the 21-day average of 320. As you can see, there are a lot more hospitalizations going on since the holidays. And of the 88 counties in Ohio, only 4 are in public emergency level 2, while the rest are in public emergency level 3. Fortunately, however, there are no longer any counties in public emergency level 4. Dr. Bruce Vanderhoff, Chief Medical Officer for the Ohio Department of Health, in yesterday's news conference stated, "We are riding a very high wave of COVID-19 in Ohio. Our testing positivity is climbing. Hospitalizations across the state, which had dropped, have now jumped back up. Ohio has 3 times the hospitalizations we had in November 1st and almost 7 times the number from October 1st. And he also stated our hospitals are extremely busy, and we haven't yet begun to see what the impact may be from the holiday. We have a lot of road ahead, and we can't forget COVID-19 safety." On other news, Governor Mike DeWine was embarrassed by the riot at the U.S. Capitol. Governor Mike DeWine tweeted many times and sent emails to express his displeasure in the riot that occurred in the U.S. Capitol today, calling it lawlessness and an affront to our Constitution and everything we hold dear. He acknowledges that a peaceful protest is the First Amendment rights of the demonstrators, but those who breach the Capitol breach the Constitution. And he went on to describe them as a violent mob who disrupted the final step of our constitutional process of electing our president. Perrysburg, Ohio, Eagle News, Ronnie Bayuga. Back to you, Ace.
Randy, before we let you go, how's the vaccine distribution there in Ohio?
Well, you know, the vaccines have been going on for the last couple weeks, and their first targets were the frontline workers, hospitals, and also the nursing homes, their residents and their staff. Well, there has been an issue with the number of vaccines. That has, you know, Ohio has done a really well job of following through with their phase 1 distribution plans. However, the plan has had some issues, some refusing to be vaccinated due to conspiracy theories, and some others just not trusting the new vaccine. Not because of some mythical story, but they don't believe we know enough what the longer term effects of the vaccines would be. There were also other issues where there were not enough staff to administer the vaccines. So because everyone was busy working at the hospitals, which are now becoming full. All in all, Ohio has done a good job of following their plan, and they made adjustments. So some vaccines, like they wasted of 7 vials because it expired. So there's now a process developed by the Department of Health to reappropriate those vials that are not used so that they can be distributed instead of allowing to expire. They also produce a dashboard in the website for coronavirus.ohio.gov that shows the vaccination progress in Ohio, the amount of people being vaccinated and the like, and also a lot of information about the vaccine and FAQs, including addressing those myths about the vaccine that people are using as reasons why not to get vaccinated. So like one of them is vaccines that use mRNA will alter the DNA genetic makeup. So things like that, that's not really possible, is actually being used as reasons not to use the vaccine. Back to you, Ace.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Well, to educate ourselves about the vaccine and its effects or its side effects is our responsibility as well. It's the people's responsibility, not just depending on the government or whatever media that can share the information about the vaccine. But good information. Thank you so much, Randy Bayuga, Pearisburg, Ohio. It's California's statewide oxygen strategy. Who better to explain it than the governor himself? Bureau Chief Angel Membrere files his report.
Thank you. Due to the strain on the hospital systems in Southern California and San Joaquin Valley, there is a statewide oxygen strategy, which has 5 components. Governor Gavin Newsom explains this.
You can see the framework of our strategy is predicated on 5 fundamental efforts, and most important being just mitigation and awareness at this moment, particularly for those hospitals and facilities that are not necessarily focused on it. We are making sure that we're reaching out to every facility up and down the state of California to caution around what's occurred in some parts of the state and providing resources. Those resources include technical assistance team. I referenced that state oxygen team that we put together. We also have OSHPOD, one of our state agencies, working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the best of the best. The oxygen support, the support that the Army Corps has already provided, has been exampled in 7 facilities, 5 down in L.A., 2 in San Bernardino. One of the other strategies, and this is important, that Dr. Galley and others have been working hard on this over the last number of days, is home oxygen support to, again, decompress, reduce the stress on the system, get people the support and the connection at home to get the kind of oxygen that would allow them to recover. As it relates to the state procurement efforts, we've got 160 units that have been deployed, or rather 106. We've got 160 that are in our California medical stations that we'll look to redeploy. We talked about these EMSA stations, other stations. We're just looking at the panoply of oxygen support. That's in essence what this slide says.
As vaccinations continue to be distributed across the state as part of Phase 1A, Governor Newsom explains the need to accelerate the vaccine distribution with the use of other healthcare systems to help in administering the doses. He also explains the next phases of administration. Let's see what he has to say.
We are in Phase 1, which is healthcare workers and long-term care residents. Again, congregate facilities, seniors. That's the current phase, about 3 million people, plus or minus. Phase 1B is the phase that was discussed last week by our guidelines working group, and it has multiple tiers. Tier 1B, or rather Tier 2 and 1B, that moves from 65 to 65 and over, not just 75 and over. And you can see the other sectors in terms of individuals and industries, logistics, industrial, residential, commercial facilities, services that will be prioritized. Now, 1C will be updated and discussed, not signed off on this Wednesday, but will be discussed. That's the next phase, and that's 50 and over. And that's the phase I would likely be in, and then people with underlying medical conditions down to the age of 16.
Governor Newsom gives an update on the new COVID strain that was found in California. 4 individuals from San Diego were identified to have it, one of which is hospitalized, and 2 individuals from San Bernardino were identified as well. Governor Newsom explains some information regarding this new strain. Let's listen.
This new strain, this new variant, is more contagious we believe, but not more severe in terms of its impact in terms of your condition. And we do, yes, believe, and you've heard this, you've read it, you've seen discussions, TV about this. CDC does believe the vaccines will protect the current available vaccines. We're getting good news. Hopefully Johnson & Johnson will join, and other vaccine manufacturers will come into the queue later this month. CDC, though, believes will protect against this new strain. Just underscores, that's why I put this slide up, just underscores the importance of our preventative measures, particularly now with a strain that's more easily transmittable, meaning transferable, meaning you're more likely to get this strain. That's why it's more important to consider all of the common sense things that you know well, and I don't need to burden you with.
In Sacramento, California, Angel Membreri, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Angel Membreri from Sacramento. The state of Arkansas is battling a new high in COVID-19 infections. In Little Rock, Eagle News correspondent Don Omar Cuevas files this report.
Hello again from Little Rock, Arkansas. I hope you had a happy and safe New Year. COVID-19 cases in Arkansas are now more than 230,000 as of this Tuesday, with over 170,000 recoveries and almost 4,000 deaths. A new record in COVID cases has been made in the beginning of the new year, with over 4,000 cases in one day. As the virus continues to spread throughout the state, our Governor Asa Hutchinson remains concerned about the status of Arkansas, stating that the recent numbers of hospitalizations and deaths due to COVID-19 are vivid reminders of how many families are hurting because of this pandemic. This Tuesday, the governor further explained Arkansas's current plan for COVID-19 vaccine distribution in the form of 3 phases. With each consecutive phase, the vaccine will become available to more people than before. Phase 1A prioritizes healthcare workers and other long-term care facility workers. Phase 1B makes the vaccine available to those over 70 years old, as well as frontline essential workers such as school staff, postal workers, and essential government workers. Phase 1C further increases the accessibility of the vaccine, with it being available to those over 65 years old and those between 16 and 64 with high-risk medical conditions, as well as other essential workers. Phase 1 is the state's current phase, meaning it's happening now. Phase 1B is predicted to come into effect this February, and Phase 1C is predicted to come into effect this April. I hope you're staying safe wherever you are, and I wish you the best in the new year. In Little Rock, Arkansas, Don Omar Cuevas, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Don Omar from Arkansas. Let's head over to Central America, where the Panamanian government launches a vaccination registration website. Eagle News correspondent May Davila has the details.
The registration form for Phase 4 of the vaccination against the COVID-19 disease was released yesterday by the Ministerio de Salud. This includes people from 50 to 59 years old, teachers, public transport drivers, and the general population. The institution reported that another form for the registration of people who are part of Phases 1, 2, and 3 will be enabled soon. The form that is now available will make it possible to identify the population interested in receiving the coronavirus vaccine that does not belong to the groups identified as priority in Phases 1, 2, and 3. The first step to enter the vacunas.panamasolidario.gov platform is to enter the identification number and the expiration date of the personal identity document or cedula. Once the person completes the information requested, the system asks them to confirm their identity and then welcomes them and presents them with a series of questions. Among the questions that the person must answer are if they want to be vaccinated against COVID-19, if they are insured by the Caja de Seguro Social, if they have disability that prevents them from moving, chronic diseases they suffer, residence, and contact information. According to Luis Oliva, administrator of the Autoridad Nacional para la Innovación Gubernamental, this platform seeks to provide an orderly vaccination method to identify the population that will be vaccinated in each phase. He explained that this form will also allow them to know which people want to be vaccinated, since they are aware that there is a sector of the population still reluctant to be vaccinated against COVID-19. The official explained that the registry will be available to the entire population, since they will place kiosks with staff in paid areas of the metro bus, metro stations, info plazas, and health centers to register anyone who wishes to do so. The form for general vaccination was enabled a day after the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Erica Moines, announced that the first batch of 40,000 doses of the vaccine against COVID-19 from the pharmaceutical duo Pfizer and BioNTech will arrive between January 18 and 25. Desde Ciudad de Panama, May Davila, Eagle News, vivimos en tiempos interesantes.
Thank you, May Davila, Panama. When we come back, updates from Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. Plus, if time permits, our virtual roundtable about what we think are the best inventions. That's for National Technology Day. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Impormasyong mahalaga sa taong bayan. Patas na pagbabalita. Papakinggan ang magkabilang panig. Lilinawin ang mga issue at kaagad na ihahatid ng objektibo. Mata ng Agila. Tumadagit ng pinakasariwang pangyayari, hindi lamang sa loob ng bansa, kundi sa iba't ibang panig ng daigdig. Mula sa Eagle News Teams at sa tulong ng makabagong teknolohiya, tiyak na makakalap kaagad ang katotohanan. Para sa mas matalas, malinaw at malalimang pagbabalita. Ito ang mas pinatalas na Mata ng Agila. Inihahatid ng veteranong broadcast journalist na si Eli Saludar. Kasama si Binibining Pilipinas Intercontinental 2019, Emma Tiglao. At pinangungunahan ng batikang mamamahayag ng bansa, Vic De Leon Lima. Mata ng Agila, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng gabi, dito sa Net 25.
Eagle News America, I'm Ace Ramirez in Washington. It's National Radon Action Month, and let's check in with Bureau Chief Myla Simbulan how Pennsylvanians are encouraged to test their homes for radon. Myla.
That's right, Ace. During the fall of 2020, students from across Pennsylvania, ages 9 to 14, were invited to participate in the 2021 Pennsylvania Radon Poster Contest. The purpose of the contest was to raise awareness of the harmful effects of elevated levels of indoor radon gas. Radon gas results from the breakdown of uranium in the ground and enters homes through cracks in the foundation or other openings. 3 students who won the poster contest are helping the Department of Environmental Protection and Department of Health to encourage Pennsylvanians to test their home for radon in January, which is National Radon Action Month. Radon is a naturally occurring radioactive gas that enters homes from the ground and is the second leading cause of lung cancer. Pennsylvania has one of the most serious radon problems in the United States. Approximately 40% of Pennsylvania homes have radon levels above Environmental Protection Agency's action guideline of 4 picocuries per liter. According to Department of Environmental Protection Secretary Patrick McDonald, and I quote, "Nearly all homes have radon, and 40% of Pennsylvania homes have more radon than the federally recommended guideline. Since you can't see or smell this gas, doing a simple radon test is one of the practical actions Pennsylvanians can take to keep their home a healthy place." So you can search for radon test data by zip code, but the smartest thing to do is to test your home for radon, no matter where you live. Protect yourself and your loved ones. Do a home radon test. Right now, Ace, the weather here in Swarthmore is 39 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 4 degrees Celsius. In Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Myla Simbula and Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Myla, radon sounds scary, and you can't smell it. You're not supposed to taste it. You can't feel it. So how do you really test your home for radon?
So for you to know if there's radon in your house, if it has elevated levels of radon, an easy home test kit can be purchased. It can be purchased at hardware or home improvement stores for, it's about $20 to $30. And another option is to hire a state-certified testing company, because radon levels are often the highest in the basement. So you place your test in the basement, or it can also high above the ground. So even homes without basements, ground floor is also a good location to test. So that testing kit, you have to send it to the lab, and then the lab will send it back to you, whatever the result is. I've done that in the past, so I'm probably going to do it this month because of what I read about it. Ace?
Thank you for sharing that, Myla. Saying that it's more evident in the basement. You got me more scared now. I'm in the basement right now. Thank you so much, Myla Simbula in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. Now, January 6th is National Technology Day. And to celebrate it, today's roundtable is about what our Eagle News team think are the best invention. Let's start with Tom. Tom, what do you think is the best invention and why?
Okay, the invention I would pick as the best, I'm going to go back to the 15th century, mid-1400s. There was a goldsmith in Germany, Johannes Gutenberg. He invented the printing press. And we became literate as a result. For the first time, we had books. We had printed material. So people learned to read, and I think that made a profound effect on society, and sort of everything else came from that.
That's good. That's a good pick. Philip, what's yours?
I thought about this, and there's a lot of things that I could say, but the one I'm going to go with is cameras. Because just imagine what life was like before you could take, a snapshot of something and relive those memories. And especially, even to get to more specific, whoever came up with the way to create digital cameras, so we didn't have to do the whole, go and drop your film off and wait, and comes back and you're like, oh, why did I look like that? You could do everything instantaneously. But just that technology, I think, has been really impactful to the way that we see the world around us. But Ace, what about you? What's your favorite technology?
Well, for me, it's microwave. I just had a brief struggle with my microwave. The fuse got busted. I had to replace it, and then I had to replace the switch, and then I had to. But the inconvenience of not having the microwave and have to reheating your food on the stove, and that's just. I learned to appreciate the microwave. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
Myla, what's yours?
I'm glad you said microwave, because I'm not sure whether what I'm going to say is under technology. Mine is air fryer. So I always so I always have to prepare something for my family, and air fryer is the way to go to, because first of all, it's healthy. You don't need to fry things. You don't need to put oil. Sometimes I do spray on it. But yeah, everything's crispy. Frozen food comes out crispy as well and juicy in the inside. So yeah, I thought our air fryer is faulty a couple of weeks ago, and I'm about to cry because yeah, I don't wanna go through replacing it, and we have to wait for it, ordering it and everything, because just one day without air fryer, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
But you know what? You talked about, I think we have time. Well, you talked about air fryer. I tried our air fryer once, and it kind of emitted this smell. I'm not sure if I'm using it wrong, or is that really for you guys? Is that how your first time with your air fryer was?
I've read it depends on your air fryer. The air fryer I got, it don't follow the temperature that you have on the food. Let's say if the frozen food that you have says 400, I only put it on 300 because it's small. It's a small appliance, and usually the temperature that is really too high. That's why probably there's a smell.
I see. Okay. Well, I guess
just lower the temperature. Try that.
Let me try that. Thanks for the tip, Myla. All right, Rani, what's your favorite technology gadget?
I like to zoom and I like to travel. So mine is the internal combustion engine. So I can zoom in my car, zoom in a motorcycle, whatever, and get to places. But that's my favorite invention.
What is that?
It's the motor, basically. A metal where combustion is actually occurring inside of this metal encased chamber that turns the wheels of your car, the wheels of your motorcycle, the propeller for your planes and your boats and trains, everything. So that is my favorite. That's my favorite invention.
That combustion that you're talking about, it made traveling very easy and fast.
Yes. Imagine having to ride a horse from, Midwest all the way to California. That's going to take a long time.
Well, anyways, thank you so much for sharing, guys. We continue to express our appreciation for our healthcare workers, first responders, and essential workers. You are our modern-day heroes. That is today's Eagle News America. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ace Ramirez. We live in interesting times.